Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another Divine Laws program. I am Correa, and we are delighted to be here live with you, forming this current of divine healing love that shall benefit not only ourselves, but everyone in our network and everyone in greater need. Hello, dear Nora. Wonderful to be with you yet again. Nora is a beautiful host at Kardec Radio as well. Thank you, dear friend, for the teamwork effort. And we are here tonight to nourish our souls with immortal wisdom. Why do we say so, beloved friends? Because the divine laws we shall study, as they were codified by Allan Kardec in the third part of the Spirit's book, represent universal laws that shall remain the same as we progress for immortality. So it is beautiful that we can invest in our own eternal well-being by studying together. We thank you, beloved friends, for the gift of your company. We thank you for forming this current of hope and light together. We thank the mentors who have prepared these beautiful, nourishing moments for each and every one of us. And we now then begin our study tonight. We shall begin by reading question 904, then reading as well the answer from the illuminated spirits, bringing a couple of highlights, then doing a therapeutic exercise together. And afterwards, we shall end this study session. Let us then read the question asked by Kardec. In question 904, Kardec asks, is it wrong for a person to probe the ills of society and expose them? This is a very timely question because in our current society, we have had so much access to the opportunity of sharing information. We have all become journalists through social media ourselves, and we often expose or see the exposition of problems and issues. Is this wrong when we ourselves take the initiative to expose someone else's wrongdoing? Excellent question for us to take into consideration. Let us all learn from the illuminated spirits as they respond to Kardec and to all of us. In their answer, the illuminated spirits propose the following. That depends on the sentiment leading the person to do so. If a writer only wants to create a scandal, he or she does so out of personal pleasure, publishing material that generally sets a bad example rather than a good one. The spirit enjoys it, but it can be punished for the pleasure it feels in revealing wrongs. So now, dear friends, we have a thermometer, or we have an inner alarm presented to us by the good spirits. What shall be this inner alarm? This shall be our sentiment, our intention. So the spirit mentors are inviting us to use our reason before sharing information, and also examining how we may feel about sharing such information? Is the information helpful to others? That's something to take into consideration. Are we sharing the information thinking of the general good, or thinking about our own purposes solely? This is something we need to think about. When the purpose of sharing the information is to benefit others, then our consciousness as well as our inner temple in our hearts shall be in peace. But when we share information solely with sarcastic purposes or purposes that have no other primary goal rather than feeding our own ego, then our inner alarm shall sound. Right, Hermínio Silveira, thank you for joining us, dear friend, and thank you everyone who is here. So let us meditate upon two examples. A constructive example in which the word is used to elevate our minds, our understanding of life, and to promote the general good, and a contrasting example in which the word is used as an instrument of destruction, as an instrument to diminish our brothers and sisters rather than to elevate them. Every time we communicate, be it through writing or through speaking, we have a choice. We can choose to be either constructive in our use of words or destructive. Allan Kardec is a great example of someone who used words very constructively. Let us take the book Heaven and Hell as a point of reference. In the second part of the book Heaven and Hell, Allan Kardec examines true accounts of spirits who, communicating from the other side of life, help us meditate upon the everlasting, or not everlasting, but rather long lasting consequences of our actions. Though Allan Kardec exposes the less illuminated choices that some of the spirits have made, the sole purpose of Kardec doing so and documenting those cases was not to criticize them, was not to be sarcastic, was not to point fingers, was not to satisfy his own ego by saying, we are right and you are wrong. No, dear friends, Kardec had a constructive purpose in mind, an elevated purpose. His purpose was for the collective to have real accounts illustrating the loss of action and reaction as it plays out in both realms of life, so that we incarnate beings would be better equipped to make wiser choices while incarnated, because we are now, thanks to Kardec, able to study the consequences of our actions. So the book Heaven and Hell is a beautiful example of writing for the good, of investing in the good of the collective generations to come by exposing mistakes, not to criticize, but rather to illuminate the very spirits exposing their own mistakes so they can reflect upon them, and ourselves so that we can revisit our actions and redirect, recalculate our course of action in life before we discarnate. So there are many beautiful purposes for which Kardec documented those cases. Right here on Kardec Radio, these cases have been studied by our dear Sunshine Beck. So we highly recommend that we all study these cases together, listen to them, learn from them. Also, all the cases from the book Heaven and Hell have been audio recorded with more than 60 voices from around the world, beautifully done, better than any current Netflix series. We can study the laws of action and reaction in a very illuminating manner in this way. So, this is an example of a constructive use of the word. Thank you, Kardec, for showing us how to be constructive. So we know we are being constructive when we prioritize the general good, when what we are writing is useful to not only ourselves but others, when what we are writing or communicating is actually necessary, when what we are writing and communicating is very likely to be helpful. So these are guidelines for us to take into consideration. In contrast, how do we know if what we are writing is destructive? For example, we have recently learned that on TikTok, this new media, social kind of social media, children are being encouraged to steal items from their schools or destroy items from their school. Of course, this is not an example of investing in the general good. The person starting this movement may be thinking just about how far their word can go, but not thinking of the consequences to the collective. So, this is an example of a destructive use of the word. The sentiment behind it does not bring benefit to the collective. What is another example of the destructive use of the word? Nowadays, we have Netflix, for example, and there are series on Netflix that are very sensual and erotic in nature that border pornography. When we are exposed to this kind of input through the artistic use of the word, this is being more destructive than constructive because we are ingesting, so to speak, mental images that shall be connected to our minds and thus connect us to other minds that also have the same sensual tendencies. Then, in this manner, rather than evolving, we are becoming closer to our own animalistic instincts. So this is an example of a destructive use of the word. Wow, a lot of food for thought. So we ourselves, because we are blessed with the gift of discernment, because we are blessed with the knowledge through which we understand that our choices are either constructive or destructive, let us practice within the next 24 hours sending a written message at work, sending a text to a friend, publishing something on social media to counteract the ways of destructive use of the word that is going around. Let us be constructive. Let us practice speaking for the good, writing for the good, listening for the good, spreading the good. We all have access to the power of the word through our fingertips nowadays, dear friends. Let us counteract then the destructive tendencies that we have all been exposed to in this manner. Our Master Jesus is recruiting us tonight to write for the good, to speak for the good, to spread the good. This is our therapeutic exercise for tonight. Within the next 24 hours, let us share in our social media, through email, through a text, through a phone call, encouraging wise, kind words so that more and more of those in our network in both realms can feel the presence of God in their lives. Everything that is good comes from God. So when we make a choice to write and speak constructively, we are connecting to God and being co creators of the good through the goodness of God. Let us then embrace this mission, beloved friends, and become more conscious co creators of the good, shall we? This is the proposal for tonight. So we thank you, dear friends, for the opportunity for us to learn to invest in the good together, and let us act as soldiers of the Christ on earth, spreading the good through the power of our word. So for now, dear friends, we hope that we can all join forces in this current of healing, light, and love. And we then already look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another study of the divine laws. Many beautiful blessings, a big fraternal hug, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Bye for now.